You're listening to the Becoming More Me podcast with me, Theresa Lear Levine. You're already enough, but if you're anything like me, you thrive when you're stretching, creating, and aligning with the person you feel called to be, and creating greater calm, clarity, and confidence in your life, as well as room for pleasure and expansion. Through amazing stories, conversations, and offerings, this podcast is here to inspire and support you. Get ready to release the negative, reinforce the positive, and elevate our consciousness and vibe together as we tap into our limitless potential to transform and grow. Hey there, welcome to another episode of Becoming More Me. Today, I'm going to share with you how I built my most recent six-figure business without undue stress and overwhelm. And I'm going to share with you some of it through the lens of my upcoming book, Becoming More Me, Tapping into Success, Subconscious Secrets of an ADHD Entrepreneurial Mom. I'm just getting the calm vibes going here. If you're watching the video, I'm lighting up my sage bundle and just kind of smudging. It's a little bit of a heavy energy day over here. Not exactly sure why, but that ought to take care of it. So I have shared with you a lot over the years about, building my businesses, about different tips and tricks, things that have worked for me, so on and so forth. And as I get ready to launch this book, I realize that so much of this is about how I've been able to grow and become more of the person I want to be in this world on my terms, without undue stress, without undue overwhelm. I believe that in this day and age, it's pretty hard to completely avoid stress. And while I've always been of the opinion that overwhelm is a choice, it is still one that I choose every now and then, even if it's not really aligned with my highest good. So this, much like my book and my stories, this isn't before and after. This isn't a story of, once I was stressed and overwhelmed, now I'm not. This is an ongoing journey for me and for all of the women that I've had the ability to work with and be on this journey with. We're never going to escape the contrast, the complexity, the challenges that life brings us. However, we can build our resiliency. We can get more kind of elastic in our ability to bounce back, to reframe, to shift our perspective, to elevate our consciousness, and to open up to the new dynamics that we really want to allow into our lives. So for those of you who have kind of followed my journey, I have been helping and coaching women in different forms of business, different ways for over 25 years. Now, I launched my Becoming More Me business in 2020, and I made a pivot that led me into that in 2017, give or take. So this part of my journey, from pivot through current iteration of my business and some major up-leveling and consciousness shifts, has really been like the last 7-ish years of my life. And so that's like my late 30s into my mid 40s. And there were plenty of pivots before that. Don't get me wrong either. Again, this isn't before and after. This isn't just that one point in my life that led me here. There's culmination of things, and there's also individual events that have led me to the place where I am now, which I also am aware when I look back on this in another 7 years, it's going to be like, oh my goodness, how much I've grown, how far I've come, because we're just always in progress with this stuff. So people often tell me that I'm lucky because I do work with the nervous system. I do work with the subconscious mind. My work is also my solution. And therefore, somehow that's translated into making everything easier. And while I love that I get to have my hands in and on the very modalities that have helped me the most every day with my clients and also continue to use them with myself steadily, there are so many other aspects of being an entrepreneur and of running this business that have nothing to do with actively regulating the nervous system or rewiring the subconscious mind. So I just want to kind of bring that front and center. I still have different things I need to use and apply this to all the time. It's not like my life and business is breathing EFT and hypnotherapy and energy psychology all throughout my day. I have marketing, I have sales, I have a team to manage, I have, creative stuff to do, I have meetings to do, I have all sorts of things that don't directly allow me to do that, but that are what support me in having magnification of my voice in doing that, of having great systems for delivering what I do and so many other things. But I don't necessarily love those things. I mean, optimally, at some point, when this is a seven-figure business, then I will be outsourcing even more of that. I mean, I outsource a lot as it is right now, but I still very much have my hand in all parts of the business to some degree. So it'll be nice when I can just live and breathe EFT and hypnotherapy. But I say that because oftentimes, if I'm working with someone who's, say, a lawyer or a different kind of coach or a doctor or a celebrity in some way, shape, or form, then they'll kind of meet this with, oh, well, if I didn't have this job or if this wasn't going on in my life, it would be so much easier for me to embrace these modalities. And the fact of the matter is that wherever you're growing your business, wherever it is that you want to show up and be more successful, more profitable, more aligned, more purposeful, more at peace with whatever it is you're doing and growing, these modalities are going to support you. So, when people ask me how I have built my business without the undue stress and the undue overwhelm, especially over the last 3 or 4 years when things have really been ramping up, it's through using methods like this that raise my consciousness and awareness so that I can keep coming back to myself, keep choosing what matters, and keep moving forward. So it's very important to understand that it doesn't matter what line of business you're in. If your mind is open to applying this, it's going to support you in doing it in a more regulated, more efficient, more effective, and more fun way because you're going to be cultivating that calm, clarity, and confidence than if you weren't employing these things. This is the personal development that is really like the rubber meeting the road that I was missing for so many years when I was simply consuming personal development and devouring, books on the subject matter that I wanted to implement in my business, and yet feeling like I couldn't take the action on it that I wanted to. Like I kept hitting a wall. I had subconscious blocks to actually creating the success that I wanted or to potentially failing. Fear of success and fear of failure, it's not always a case of only being afraid of success or afraid of failure. You can totally be both, and I definitely was. But I think for most ADHD entrepreneurial moms, a lot of the problem is not not understanding that it's okay to slow down in order to figure things out. And this is going to come up for us time and time again throughout life. It came up for me as I wrote my book because I knew at the beginning of 2023, I was, really maxed out in my coaching, full coaching roster and helping as many people as I comfortably can in a way that serves everybody at my highest level. I never coach crazy quantities of people because I like to give them my best. So I was kind of at that edge and really helping as many people as I could. And then I started to write the book, and I knew that as people, finish up their programs, their sessions and things with me, that I was not going to be replacing clients until the book was done. So my husband and I actually had conversations around that, what that was going to look like, how that was going to be, not taking in new clients over the summertime and things like that. And that brought up a lot of uncomfortable feelings for me that I needed to process. Even though it was part of my plan, it's not the way that my business normally runs. I normally have a full roster of clients, and that creates, lovely income and feels supportive and abundant and everything else. And yet, it's really important to me to birth this book out into the world. And I knew that I couldn't do that through the lens of pleasure that was so important to me that I've spoken about on many episodes, and purpose if I was shoving the project into the cracks of my day, which is a familiar dynamic from previous businesses that I was working in and on when my kids were really little. And it always felt like I had to shove the business into the cracks of the day. And if I wasn't, then I was shoving my kids into the cracks of the day. And that wasn't good. So I knew the book needed the same kind of attention, the same kind of love, and the same kind of support that I like to give my clients. So over the summer, I allowed, clients to finish their programs. And as they finished, I just didn't rebook more. And I knew that was going to be part of the process for me because with my book, I'm also launching a brand new program. So now I have you know, this beautiful space in my schedule to nurture a brand new group of women or, the same people who are continuing on, who I've held space for in this new program. Which, by the way, if you're listening to this and that interests you, reach out. I know it's going to fill up quickly. And if you'd like me to hold space for you or you'd like to learn more about it, I'm happy to share details about what this is going to look like. But point being, I had to practice what I was preaching. In my book, I talk about, slow is the new fast. I talk about slowing up in order to actually do more, which is actually more like in order to be more and do less, tripping over my own words there. And I talk about how uncomfortable that is. And I know because I face it time and time again and meet a similar discomfort in new ways. So there were many times during this process when I would be talking with my own coaches, my own therapists, my husband, and just saying like how much I dislike the feeling of being in this phase versus when I'm just like on fire helping people. Like that's what lights me up when, I have tons of clients and they're making awesome breakthroughs and every day it's a different, voice message from somebody about something amazing that's changed or happened or transpired since our last session or something that they're getting super excited about with their next session or this thing that came up that they want to work on or how cool it was when they went to do something that used to be difficult and now it's easy. Those kind of things just light me up. They help me understand that I am walking a purposeful path and that the work that I'm doing is benefiting people in the way that I want it to. And when you go into book writing mode, it just feels like it's just you. And you really get in your head and you start wondering, like, who am I writing this book to? Am I just talking to myself? Is anybody going to care? Is anybody going to read it? It brings up all sorts of things that you think you already processed and got over and that you still need to do work on. And then, at least for me, as someone who is an expert, in all of these things, then it elevates my own feelings of imposterism. It's like, oh man, if I'm still dealing with this, then how on earth could I possibly be the person that helps other people with this? And it's bullshit. But I think it happens to the majority of us that do work like I do. So I just want to say that to be really raw and transparent that even people who are really well resourced, we come up against the same walls that we are really good at helping other people break down. And we're also way better than we give ourselves credit for breaking through them on our own. But we all get in our head about this kind of stuff. So again, when you're working to build your six-figure business, your seven-figure business, whatever it is, with greater ease and with less stress and more clarity. These are the tools that allow you to get through those bumps in the road so much easier, and that's why I've created, resources like the private sessions that you can get in my community group. Link in the bio. If you're not already part of it, join us over there. It's a free group, and there's tens of thousands of dollars worth of resources in there at this point, all for your use. But, I create things like that so that people have different ways to leverage this, because depending on what your business is, depending on what your challenges and struggles are, there's different ways that you're going to want to apply this to that. And that's why I love doing personalized coaching so much, because I absolutely know without a doubt that the way that I help people is applicable to every breathing human on this planet. And the people who I love helping most are ADHD entrepreneurial moms like me. So when I understand what the challenges are, whether it's challenges with business building and being visible, or earning money blocks, or just kind of if it's something else like your personal life, maybe it's the fact that your marriage is suffering while your business is doing amazing. Maybe you're going through divorce. Maybe you're getting married. Maybe you're having a baby. All of these things add layers of complexity and details to look into that also can bring up things from our past that still need to be worked out, and different beliefs that we've carried with us since we were super little, too little to understand that we were consciously taking on these beliefs. And yet here they are popping up in new, different ways for us to work them out and greet them with compassion, love, acceptance, and forgiveness. And that's what this work is all about. So I feel like sometimes it's hard for people to understand, because we live in this world where, there's so many coaches out there. There's so many different programs where the ROI, the return on investment, is obvious. Maybe you join a program for sales coaching and they promise that, you'll make back 3 times what you're going to pay them in the next 90 days. Or maybe it's something where, you're going to get a certain amount of, lead generation or benefit from your marketing efforts or whatever. And there's promises built in that help you feel more secure about your monetary investment. And then there's the world of personal development coaching, which I'm a part of. But the thing that I don't think people understand, and I feel like here's the thing. Okay. So with personal development coaching, while there can be many guarantees, the ROI is not as tangible because every situation and every person is unique. And when we think about investing in ourselves, that's usually the very thing that triggers the stuff that we need to work on most. And it's also typically the stuff that makes people delay their own personal development or delay investing in themselves. So I know that whenever I'm talking with somebody about doing this kind of work and they say they want to think about it or give it some time, that's absolutely a-okay. But it makes a huge difference on what's going to happen next, depending on what you do with that time. And far too many women allow themselves to get into their heads in that time and discount the value and the actual transformation that can come into their lives if they pull the trigger and invest in themselves. And, when you add personal development type coaching to coaching for business that has a tangible, measurable ROI, it accelerates what you can do with that. I often work hand in hand with business and sales coaches whose clients are having difficulty moving through their programs, difficulty taking action, because the hangups that get encountered there are not the kind of thing that you can just give people instructions and tell them to take an action and that they'll actually be able to do or sustain if they don't have the embodiment, the nervous system regulation, the understanding of what's going on internally for them when they try to do those things and it feels so difficult or brings up really challenging emotions. I hope that's making sense. So, I guess my point is that, If you're somebody who hasn't invested in yourself on a level of working on your own stuff, your own past, your own present challenges, your own future worries, then you're missing a huge piece as far as what will actually accelerate your success. And I was missing that piece for a really long time. So, no judgment here for sure. I invested in tons of things that, had great guarantees and, promised return on investment and everything else. And yet I still couldn't make it happen for myself. And sometimes I feel like guarantees put people in a place of inaction because depending on what your subconscious mind is doing, sometimes we like to prove that we can't do things. It's the same thing with that whole fear of success, fear of failure, all of that kind of stuff. We we really mess with ourselves. And getting conscious of that kind of makes it funny because then you really can start calling yourself out in a loving and compassionate way, not like that judgmental inner bitch critic, but like loving and showing yourself the path that you really want to be on instead of avoiding it or having these blinders on that you're not even aware of, where you keep somehow going right back to where you were over and over and over again, that recurring groundhog day of unwanted outcomes that I always talk about. So, yeah, I just wanted to spend some time today just talking about why this kind of work matters so much. Because I think a lot of times people see tapping and they're like, what on earth? Like, how is tapping on parts of my body and talking about things going to help me feel more successful, help me add tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to my profits every year? How is, going into a hypnotic trance and reviewing things that happened in my past going to allow me to transform those beliefs into things that actually support me in present day and allow me to move forward instead of being stuck? And how are these difficult conversations going to actually make my life a lot easier? And also, how can I have these difficult conversations without being re traumatized or worsening things that already feel like they're too hard to handle? And that, in essence, is the work that I do. And I love getting to do this real time with people that are going through struggles, whether it's that we get to test it in the relationships that are under stress, or we get to test it in the things going on in their business or whatever. There are real ways to test progress and to understand that there is very tangible return on investment from personal development and very real things that change very quickly when you do this kind of work. So that was part of my main purpose for creating Becoming More Me, tapping into the success subconscious secrets of an ADHD entrepreneurial mom, was that this was all stuff that I didn't understand for so long. And you know, the saying, you don't know what you don't know until you know it, is very true. But then once you know it, and now I've known this information for quite a while, it gets to the point where you start thinking, well, everybody must know this. And the fact of the matter is that everybody doesn't. There's a lot of people out there that are still in hustle and strive mode, still just serving their to-do list every day and feeling like they're falling short and beating themselves up about it and not allowing themselves to live in pleasure and joy and in the moment, for God's sakes, the only place we have any power, because they don't feel like they're enough to slow down and to be present in their own lives. And this has a massive impact on your ability to be successful, on your ability to scale a business, on your ability to feel like you can show up and be visible and to have that calm, clear confidence behind whatever it is you're doing. Business, life, marriage, kids, new projects, dreams, things you want to manifest, all of it. So I just encourage you to, and if you're already doing things like this, amazing. What can you do to expand things further? What can you do to open up your mind and consciousness and work with your energy so that it can support you? Because nothing we ever want is upstream. Nothing we ever want is on the other end of struggle and strive and forcing and pushing. It's all on the other side of going with the flow and allowing our energy to support us, allowing the universe to support us, allowing our beautiful brain and subconscious mind to understand what we want on a new and deeper level so that they can support us. Because otherwise, we can really get trapped in these different loops, or we're in these old paradigms where, brain and subconscious are trying to protect us because they don't know what we actually want. It's not safe and familiar yet, and we don't know how to make it safe and familiar. So when we regulate, when we rewire, when we work with the nervous system and the subconscious mind, we can bring all of that into the now with us and have, our physical, our emotional, our spiritual, and our mental bodies all speaking the same language and all taking us towards goals together. And I think that's huge and really, really important. And when this book launches and when you read it, you're also going to notice that in addition to all of the things that are in the actual book, there are going to be tons of bonuses. EFT tapping rounds, hypnotherapy audios, things for time management and ADHD and planning that will help you be able to be better organized and show up more fully in your life and so much more. I'm really excited about all of the bonus resources. And I'm also excited to tell you that next week I'm heading into the recording studio and I'm going to be creating the Audible version of the book. So I know that my target audience of ADHD entrepreneurial moms, that's going to be your favorite version of the book because for me, everything I read is on Audible. But of course, there's going to be a Kindle version, there's going to be paperback and hardback versions. All the different versions are going to exist. And, also, I know a lot of people love to read either a book or a Kindle version of a book and listen at the same time. And if you're not already aware of that little hack or trick, especially for our ADHD minds, that really allows us to take in information and better recall it, better remember it, and better process it. So it may be a case where you like to get two different versions so that you can be reading the words with your eyes and taking in the words through your ears. But I'm excited to create that. Now, I haven't created it yet, but I do kind of envision that the audiobook will probably have a little bit of bonus information where I will go off script and share extra. So I'll let you know how that turns out and if that happens or if I stick solely to the script. But I think there's going to be some extras. And I know that some of my favorite books on Audible are ones where the author they're just themselves and they're sharing and it's very casual and there's little side notes along the way. So I can tell you the Audible version will have everything the book has and probably more. And when it comes to like the EFT tapping rounds that are going to be in the printed version of the book, those will be ones where I am taking you through them as if you were, my client and giving you the space in the Audible book for you to repeat back what I'm saying, for you to take the action and really guiding you through it in a different way than I would be if you were just reading the book. So things to consider as it gets closer. Launch date is still a little bit yet to be solidified, but sometime around or after October 20th is what we're looking at right now. Hopefully before November, but sometime in that last third of the month of October, you can definitely expect to see this launch 2023. And I look forward to sharing it with you. And if you guys have questions about how to apply the techniques and modalities that I am super passionate about to your life and business, please share them with me. Our community over on School, which you can join through the link in the bio, is a great place to ask questions. It's a great place to get personalized coaching. It's a great place to understand this better and to share in the resources that are over there. And if you're listening to this, in October of 2023, then know that we're also in the midst of doing an 8-week free coaching program for the Becoming More Me book launch over there. It's not too late to join. Every Thursday, a new training goes up. This is going to happen up till and also past the book launch. And every week there's a different topic. This week it's flipping the switch on scarcity. And we've had some really great discussions going on over there. And every week you get a new video, you get new kind of questions to prompt your own introspection and your own progress, kind of like homework, if you will, but really it's like thought work. And that will go up to and beyond the book launch. So I'm reading parts of the book and then applying greater lessons, taking things deeper, including things that won't be in the book. And it's going to be a great supplement too. So even if you're listening to this beyond, that coaching will be in the classroom section of my community as a regular resource ongoing. So, even if you're listening to this way in the future, you can go into the community, you can find all of those 8 weeks of coaching lessons in there, and you can enjoy it along with the book, and you can still ask questions and participate in whatever way you like, even if it's not going on live. So I invite you to check that out. I thank you for listening, and I look forward to sharing more as we get closer to this book launch. Have an awesome day, guys. Thanks for spending some of your precious time with me today. If you loved this episode, please leave a review or simply share it with someone else who would get great benefit from it too. If you share on social media, please tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. And if your inner critic is still trying to argue with those facts, hit me up. We've got work to do.